Hi, everybody. Every time I had to try to get you guys to say hi back. It is the last session on the last day. Just think, right? So much fun.
Applause already. That's fantastic.
Right? You've made it this far. They have candy. There's so much incentive after this. Right? My name is Melissa Osborne. I just appreciate you guys being here. I'm on the events team. So I just appreciate you guys dealing with everything this week too, because I know it's just as hard as on you guys as it is everyone else. So I just want to ask you guys please to mute your cell phones, mobile devices, anything that you might have on you that might buzz or ding or beep. Please give you guys the same respect that they have this presentation for the next 50 minutes. So we're going to do about 40 minutes of presentation, about 10 minutes of Q&A. So if you could please give them a warm round of applause for the next 50 minutes of their presentation. Whew.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name's Casey. Today, you are the flow designer enabling low-code solutions for a mobile inventory scanner. So everybody make it to the right session. If not, you can duck out now. So today's agenda, we're going to examine a problem we had at our company. We're going to go ahead and build some interactive steps, do the takeaways and lessons learned, and then have a decent Q&A so you guys can ask us questions and learn a little bit more, because the more you ask, the more you're going to learn. So today we're going to go ahead and build and show how the building of an app happened for GPS and barcode scanning input. So you can do all of this in the standard out-of-the-box interface with only 3 lines of code. And those 3 lines of code actually aren't even needed, because when we get to the flow designer portion of this session, that's where it replaces code and it's drag and drop. So I'm Casey Barella. I'm the ServiceNow admin/dev for New Access Innovations. They actually just gave me a new title. I'm now the ServiceNow system engineer, so yay me.
Scotty.
And I'm an admin certified, I'm CIS certified, ITIL v3 certified. I'm working on a lot of projects right now, editable PDFs, this scanning application, and I now have to compete with Nextdoor also, so. Yeah, cheering me on, yeah.
Hi, my name is Lawrence Abeda. I'm an ITSM manager for New Access Innovations, and I've been doing IT for quite a while. I won't say how long. You put it up there.
Yeah, I did put it up there.
That's rude.
It is.
Anyway, my specialties are business process re-engineering, redesign, and of course, using ServiceNow for automation. So lots of really good stuff as far as I'm concerned.
And Lawrence is my boss, so when he comes up with a kooky idea, I'm the guy that gets to go and implement it.
He does it. So New Access Innovations is a IT infrastructure support contractor, mostly for the federal government space. We do some healthcare IT as well, specializing in IT service management, consolidation, and cloud readiness, health IT, and of course agile development. So we do lots of different projects depending on the needs of our government contracted customer. So Casey and I are actually employed at or in a contract for the Department of Interior. Do you guys remember the Deepwater Horizon incident a couple while back? The accident.
They made a movie about it.
They made a movie about it, Mark Wahlberg and all them. Yeah. As a result of that accident, the agency formerly known as MMS was split up into 3 different bureaus. The Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement, I'm going to take a breath, Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, and the Office of Natural Resources Revenue. And combined, we support all 3 of those agencies at the moment. We're talking about 3,000 or so internal employees and about 5,000 external employees. 3 major sites and 14 smaller sites spread out across the country.
Yeah. And if you ever hear us talking about our client and we name Bessie, it's not a cow, it's not a, it's the acronym for it, and it can confuse people on conference calls when we're saying, oh yeah, we helped Bessie do this. So it can get a little bit confusing for some people, so this is the problem face. Every year, by raise of hands, how many people do a physical inventory of all their hardware? We've got a decent amount of people through here. And every year it would take us 1 to 3 weeks per site with a lot of remediation, a lot of assignment meetings, breaking them down by teams, creating individual reports outside of ServiceNow, asset management teams taking all that data, collaborating it, and so forth. How many people have done the export to XLS or Excel inside of ServiceNow? How many does that more than once a week? Yeah, it's a bad habit to get out of at least. So this was our current solution, sad to say, for doing physical inventories. We were printing out sheets, we were writing things down on notepads, we were using highlighters, everything that should have stayed in the 90s at the latest, because computers did come out at some point. And it's all old school, and sad to say, we were living with that solution up until a few years ago. And the drivers for the change are, okay, everybody's doing a bring your own device kind of initiation for cell phones and laptops. How many people have BYOD cell phones in your company? Okay, great, yeah. And how many people, do you have a environmental officer in your company where they're like, can you please stop printing? You know, it's usually the very large companies that have those officers, but it is starting to happen. And you go to a meeting and they hand you a printout, you're like, what are you doing these days, you know? So we're getting the organizational pressure to go towards that method and then also eliminate the need of yearly audits and replace all of the other controls that we had in our environment. And the proposed solution for that was leverage what we already have. So on the right, you actually see a picture of one of our laptops with the barcode on it. Who has barcode on their laptops already? I mean, most organizations have an asset barcode already. Who actually uses them though, besides when you call into the phone and say, what's the number on the tag, that's usually the use. Who's ever scanned one for their company? I mean, we got a few, and this is great.
That's a good number of hands.
Yeah, we were not expecting that many hands. So we wanted to utilize the out-of-the-box Android and iOS experience. I got a lot of apologies from the ServiceNow people saying they wanted to try to get me into the beta, but everything was late this year for London, Madrid, and the new app experience, and so maybe I'll be presenting this again with the new UI here in the future. So these are what we wanted to leverage, the existing hardware that's out there, tied with the existing barcodes that are probably on most people's laptops already. Also, out of the box, who uses like Dell or Lenovo and all that? If you're not actually printing barcodes, they got nice barcodes for you already. So if you don't want to pay for stickers and getting things barcoded, you can just use the existing barcodes that are already on your products. So what you're going to learn is Studio input for this, making a table, and then Flow Designer to go through everything. Really how to step back and think about things and in a low code, no code solution. So I'd probably have a lot of developers here because this is CreatorCon, but I did make sure to put in the title that this is a low code, no code solution. So by show of hands, who's our pro coders out there? Who knows their stuff? Great, we got some great people. Turn to those people if you have questions. They probably know them better than me because I am a low code admin. Who's the low code admins and devs here? Decent amount. And then any no coders that perfectly, yep, awesome. That's where it's driving towards. You heard all the keynotes. We're driving towards a no-code solution. And the 3 lines of code I have in this are the low code, don't even need them actually. So this is the interactive studio portion of the statement here. I call this slide out because all this application is one table with 6 fields. And that's it. Those fields are a reference to the asset table, comments, the map link, basically going in and using the number. And in those fields, this is where those lines of code come into play. And this is the stuff that enables your mobile phone application to have the certain things like GPS input. This is things that I didn't learn for a while, and it's just the easiest line of code to turn on. It's not even a line of code really because it's the attribute editor. You hit new, you pick the current location input helper, and you set it to true. So who thinks that's a line of code? It's really not. It shows up like a line of code later on, but it's just a attribute. The next one is the barcode scanning. In the barcode scanning, same thing, enable barcode scanning. This is a trick though, because on our table, the asset references the hardware asset table, which you guys are probably familiar with. In that table, it's just a reference field. So you have the nice magnifying glass icon that you're all used to. That magnifying glass icon on the mobile app is native a barcode scanner. If it's a reference field, you could just scan the barcode. So you don't even need to turn this on. You normally only have to turn this on if it's a string field, getting a little technical, but out of the box, just make a reference field on a table, and you can use the barcode scanner. And actually, we'll have a play along at home. You can actually scan our PowerPoint here pretty soon. The third line of first full true line of code is the calculated field for the URL, where we take the current GPS location and just add it to a GPS link for Google Maps. So now 2 line of a heart of code there. And in that, you can go ahead and do this in a simple UI action instead. So getting into that geeky technical realm of CreatorCon. So I could have done that, but I wanted to use this with an integration later on. And I think they want to join our
They really
session.
want to come into our session.
He heard, either I said something really wrong or really right.
Said Google and GPS.
Google and GPS, Google guy, just jumping in. The next line of code is the on-submit client script. We wanted to keep this easy for people to be informed of what's happening. So you hand this to your desktop person to go ahead and scan assets. You want to give them some instructions to say, okay, you scanned it right, and it's going to be redirected, and go ahead and you can scan the next asset. And I'm going to show you another way if you want to do it for self-service users. The next one is the UI action. So remember, normally you would hit save in a mobile app, or it would be submit in the normal UI interface. I wanted it to be called submit instead of save, so I wrote one that just overwrites it, and it just redirects to the scope and has a -1 on it, and that just means go to a new record. These aren't hard, but they're not necessary. I just wanted to make sure my desktop guys can rapidly scan one computer, fill it out, hit submit, go to the next computer without having to go back into the menus and so forth.
So you're thinking about the user experience.
Yes.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, got to step back. I come from the DevOps school that you want to make sure that you put the mindset and the hat on of who's actually going to be using the product. Do a day in their shoes, go out and tour with them and see how they actually do it. That's how I actually learned. I knew we were printing things out, but that slide with the notebook where they were writing everything down was from the server room guys, and they weren't happy. All right, so this is how the app actually looks inside of the standard user interface. Made a menu, I made 3 links, inventory scan logs, that just every log of every scan that happens, and then I did a list of the hardware asset table, and it said scanned assets this year and unscanned assets this year. And that just uses one field with a simple list builder of the checked in date. So if it was checked in on this year, it showed up. If it was not checked in this year, it shows up on the other list. So then your desktop guys and your managers can actually go through and say, well, you got 600 more to scan, get on it, and so forth. So it's just simple reports that you're not even in the reports module, you just give them access to the data that they need right away. This is what the form actually looks like inside the system, and you'll notice that we have the reference at the top, another reference to location. The geolocation right there and there is just longitude and latitude. Can't speak today. And then the map link. You can embed the map link right in the form, but we wanted to use that for another integration in the future. So, like I said before, you can do a UI action to say, go show me this asset on a map, or you can embed it right on the form itself. And all of this takes extremely fast and easy. So this is where we're actually going to jump into demo time. Who wants to do the hammer? Wake up. And so I'm just going to show you what it looks like in Studio and show you one of the other advantages for bring your own devices. So now we're going to see if the internet works, and if it doesn't, there you go. So you'll notice it's a fully scoped application, and I just go ahead and click on physical inventory. I do have the GitHub repo for you guys at the end of this, so you can actually install it and use it yourself. I also have,
You guys actually know what that means.
I also have a video walking through the whole thing, so you guys can watch me build it in 20 minutes, and step-by-step instructions. This last weekend was a very long weekend. So you'll notice, I have my table, my scan log table right here, and it's gonna pull up my fields. And it was as simple as just double-clicking through and adding my fields right into the system. But the one thing I wanted to show you guys in studio is a little-known UI action right here, add to service catalog. Honestly, who's known about that before? There's a few of you guys,
wow,
probably the pro coders, the people that have used it before. But this is something I didn't know about for a long time. So when I said bring your own device initiative, right now we're not to that point. We're at the desktop point where our desktop team is going around and scanning everything. But we want to get to the point where we hand this over to our customers and say, once a year, check in your own laptop. And to do that, you would do the service catalog where you'd allow them to just fill out a service catalog on your service portal or CMS or whatever you want through the mobile phone. And then you're just getting everybody update. And then you can have your desktop team go clean up. Oh, we need to go find those 50 computers where people didn't self-check in. So I didn't do that in here because I wanted that rapid desktop scan one, desktop scan the next one right after each other. But if we were ready for that build your own device, you'd go ahead and click on add to service catalog, and then you move the fields from left to right of what you want them to do. You name it, hit save, and now it's in your service catalog. So this is just a quick demo of showing you it's not hard, and you can actually go in, make a record producer, fill out those fields, but it knows what you're doing already, and it says you got a table, you got fields, let's just do the work for you. And the first time I learned that to do for record producers, I'm like, so I've been doing it the hard way for 3 years because nobody told me? Really? Why? It just baffles me. I want to do a hashtag of things they don't teach you in the admin class.
Well, this is why you come to
you come to knowledge
right?
to learn these
little tidbits.
Tips and tricks. So
worth the price of admission.
So that is the demo for Studio, and we have another demo coming up here in a second. All right, so this is where Flow Designer comes into play and the no-code, low-code solution. So how many people have ever done a business rule where you do the drop-downs of the when to run and the actions that you see there? This is another thing they don't teach you, and that I've had product managers go, really, we let you do that and it doesn't work, is the dot walking in here. So if you notice under asset dot checked in, I have an asset table that I'm linking in my form that I have the checked in table as a dot walk thing. But since this business rule is on the scan log table, it's not going to talk to that table at all, okay? So normally you would actually have to do a scripted business rule, and they're not hard. This is not a lot of code to say, hey, go look at the hardware asset table, the ALM hardware table, query it for the sysID, and update it with whatever you want to update. But you don't have to do that in Flow Designer, but in a scripted business rule, you'd have to do all that scripting in the advanced area. The whole dot walking, they shouldn't even allow you to do that. You think it should work because, hey, it lets me do it. It lets me do the same as and created, but nope, doesn't work. So that's one thing they're going to actually try to script out of business rules, and they're actively looking at it, but for now, they just couldn't do it because in the UI, it's just stuck that way. So don't have to do that anymore. Don't have to do a business rule. Go ahead and skip that completely and use Flow Designer. So who's used Flow Designer so far? All right, got a decent amount of you. In a PDI or in your production instance? PDI? Pretty much, yeah. Not always. So who's used IF-IT before? The Internet of Things, if this, then that. That's basically what Flow Designer is. It has triggers and actions. And if you've ever done the Amazon dash buttons and things like that, you can actually set those up to be triggers. So we actually looked into the Amazon Dash One, that little barcode scanner that's internet enabled. It is locked down completely tight. You can't really hack it. So I wanted to hand those to my desktop guys instead of using phones, and it just didn't work. So I really wish it did.
What kind of government clearance do you have again?
Yeah, not high enough.
Okay.
So this is Flow Designer. Flow Designer has two areas. I said triggered when a record's created on the scan logs. Looks a lot like a business rule trigger, doesn't it? There are other triggers for update and so forth, and we'll show some of those here in a minute. So that's as simple as it is, like 2 steps to turn on a Flow Designer trigger. And then in the actions is where it updates everything else. So you'll notice it says updated record. What record do you want to do? The asset tag that was in that scan log. Then what table you want to update it on, the hardware table. Then you have the fields like work notes, location, and checked in. And we'll look at those in more detail, but the work notes, you'll notice, is a concatenated field. So you'll notice I have some typed in text there and some dragged in pill picker options. And we'll show you that inside the studio here in a minute, or the Flow Designer. But you'll notice you'll be able to set things as checked in is the same as created and so forth. So here's the second demo time. So we're going to jump over into Flow Designer. And let me get ready for that. So some filler talk if you got.
Sorry, I have nothing.
All right, no problem. And Flow Designer. And the internet. Come on, come on, come on. So you'll notice I have a Flow Designer called Update Asset Record. And I clicked on it, and it's opening it up. And I had videos of these also, just in case the internet did die. And, oh, it's going slow. So you'll notice the trigger here at the top. Scan log created, and then it just picks on what table you want to see the record is created on. But you have all the other options like created, updated, or created and updated. If you want these things to continuously update, you just pick that. Then you have scheduled daily tasks. Flow Designer is the new replacement for workflow, as they hinted at this morning. You probably saw the actual workflow aspect of it, of actual dragging and dropping, and then having visual diagrams. So the sooner you start to learn Flow Designer, the better your life is going to be. Then under the action, simple, update record, and you have ServiceNow Core, and you have ask for approvals, create record, update record, and so forth. Select what table. This is what you couldn't do under the scripted business rule before. You can't dot walk or select a different table in the scripted business rule. Something they could have done, but they decided to focus their effort on Flow Designer, and I don't blame them. It's a lot better. So you set that, and then you have my 3 fields, the work notes field, the location, and checked in. Notate there is a bug in any journaled fields that if you try to copy and paste text into it, it will error on you. So I have one of the project managers already looking into trying to fix that, but definitely know that that error is out there for you. And the pill picker is what I wanted to show you. So if I go ahead and get rid of this checked in, I can add that field again, type in checked in, and then it says you want to set it to today's date. You can delete that, use this pill picker and dot walk over to that table and go straight to the created date, since it's the same date time right there for you. Or you could have drag and dropped from the right-hand column, so the asset record here and created, and drag and drop instead. Note when you're dragging and dropping, if the field's too large inside of the work notes area, the drag and drop is broken also. That's another UI bug, another thing they're trying to fix right now. So that's pretty much Flow Designer in itself. This is a very simple one. Normally you can do if actions, if this, then that. You can go into depth. Chuck Tomasi's actually done approval workflows, and they're starting to add all that approval and out of the box actions that you find in workflows already. So definitely look into that and start playing with what you can do. And you can actually delegate this through Studio with delegated access to certain tables to your business engineers and business managers. So you don't actually have to have a dev doing this. You can actually have end users doing this as long as you trust what they're doing on those tables. Which can't always say we do trust everything, but it happens. So this is the end result of that Flow Designer in the system. And this is the biggest thing to call out is I built this in a scoped app. So I didn't touch the asset table whatsoever on the out-of-the-box side because I wanted you guys to be able to install this and use yourself. I actually did a view, and that is the last thing to really know about. And it's a tricky kind of thing is if you build a view inside of Studio for your scoped app, you can actually have that view tied to your list, and you notice it says inventory view at the top of the form. That means that you're seeing that related list down at the bottom. So you notice the activity where it says system, the asset was scanned by this person on this time, and then you have a related list down below of all the scan logs, okay? Those scan logs, every year it happens, every 6 months that it happens, is just right there for you, and you could do it purely in a scoped app. And so now we're gonna watch the video, and this video is of the mobile app that you guys will be able to play with yourselves here in a few minutes, and we'll just walk you through that. So you'll notice clicking on the bottom left brings up the menu, scroll up and click on New Inventory Scan. Once that loads of the slow internet I had at home, it'll fully pull up and have the fields to pick from. I'm gonna hit the magnifying glass under Asset. That's gonna allow me to click in the magnifying glass once again and click the Scan button. I scanned a QR code, it found the asset, I clicked on it. Now I can manually set location. This was another thing that we wanted to have people manually set to say, this is my home location. But the geo coordinates, you hit that little trigger. The mobile app is a little old, so you had to hit it twice sometimes. And you'll see the GPS coordinates pop right in there for you. Then, in this case, we had a broken keyboard on this computer. So, you can actually have your desktop person notate what's going on and trigger other records like incidents if you want to. So, in this example, I didn't go into that depth, but I, had it right there for it. But then, out of the box, you could do photos and attachments right in the system. So we took a picture of the keyboard with the missing keys. So our desktop teams can do that. Go ahead, verify and upload it. So he's gonna see and then, yep, there's the image attached, and then they're gonna hit submit. And it says you've successfully submitted this record, and it's gonna redirect you to the new page. And so I built this app in under a weekend the first time, and then I did the speed run in about 20 minutes that you guys can watch later on YouTube. But that's it, it just redirects, goes back to the next page. So this is the interactive portion. Who has the ServiceNow app on their phone? A couple people? Who wants to download it right now? If you want to, feel free. If you already have it, I'm gonna have you guys log in. So if you guys wanna do this, definitely play along at home. You actually have the QR codes to download it, but I made a nice username and password for you guys. You can play along at home. I'll try to keep my dev instance also. And then the next page is where I have the sample barcodes for our assets. So I'll let you guys do this real quick. And it's
Some questions while we're...
dev 12128. All right. So whoever might have logged in right now playing along at home, if you click on the bottom left of the application, once we get there, I'll give you another minute. So if anybody's gotten to the application portion yet, these are the barcodes that you can use. Oh, going back one page. And it's just the standard ServiceNow app in the store. And I didn't test the QR code from the very back, so hopefully they worked. Then I'll click over. So that's the asset barcode you guys can scan once you're inside the system. Throw some records up, and we can check them back in my PDI. I also want to see how many people I can have log in with the same username and password before I break the system. It is a personal goal of mine. No problem.
I think you need to make that password harder.
Yeah, I was going to try to obfuscate the password, but it wasn't time to do that. So.
If you want to add a great function, let's say that barcode, it was a tied asset that come up in your sequence.
Say, we'll get the we'll get you on the mic. They're recording this session, so please, hold off for just a second. We'll get you. But if you log in, it's dev12128. Everybody think we can hit the next one now to scan it? All right, and there is the barcode. So go ahead and raise your phones. I'm going to take pictures of you guys so I can, report back to my bosses that I did work this week.
You mean me?
Yeah. There are other bosses too. You can go a little wild if you want. Wild and crazy party.
Does anybody have a success?
And a couple
Yeah?
people putting them in.
Thumbs up?
So we'll actually give it 30 more seconds, and we're going to jump back into the thing, and I'll actually open up that asset record and see some of your guys' scans.
Oh, God.
Please, no bad pictures.
No bad pictures, please.
And there is a hidden Easter egg in the app. If you guys look of who your user is, you might find a fun thing right there. So we're going to jump back over and see
I'm scared.
what's happened here. Click, click, click. Come on. Of course it's not. So inventory scan logs. And if we sort by created, there, woohoo, it works. Everything is broken.
Everything?
Everything is broken, yeah. I don't know who blames me for that one, but it looks like we had probably around, we had a lot of you guys update it.
Good job.
So thanks for that. Round of applause for you guys. Oh, I'll also jump back into the actual record. So if we click on one of these and head over to the asset record, which who hates this feature in Kingston where you actually have to click the I and then open record? Can I get an amen? They need to switch it back.
Change it back.
Horrible.
Who here works for ServiceNow?
Yeah, come on, we got a couple people. Yep. So here it is, all of those things underneath the activity stream, all of those assets updated for you guys. And then down in the related records list, we have 29 scans now. So thanks so much for being part of the demo today. How many of you guys have had an interactive portion in another session? You got a first right here, right?
Save the best for last.
So the key takeaways are you don't need to be a pro coder or even low coder to develop and make a difference for your organization. Really, those 3 lines of code we had in there just make things a little bit better, but at the same time, Flow Designer, no code necessary at all. Plus, utilize your existing hardware and out-of-the-box features in the platform. I mean, all of us have cell phones. All of us have barcodes on our laptops. And then, opening it up into a whole level of possibility of Flow Designer, I'm excited where that's going. So the next steps, we're planning on building a specific version for the server room. And we really want to get our end users to be able to update their own assets. I mean, how many people have to try to do physical inventory on
Remote
users?
workers?
Yeah.
Who never come into the office.
How many times they break their computer and you have to have it sent in by FedEx? It's not fun. Yeah. So we're planning on doing that. And then my next thing I'm really working on is a PDF generator with asset scanning tie-in. And I might be trying to do that at K19. So at the end here, after the Q&A, there is a survey you guys get in your K18 app. If you can vote me up and get me back for next year, that would be awesome. And so this is the additional resources I told you about earlier. All of this is going to be sent out on the slides, on the community forum. But those are the links to the GitHub, the docs step-by-step, and the video walkthrough. It's 20 minutes. But I speed run through building the whole app and showing it. So give it to somebody else in your, spread it. I don't want to become YouTube famous, but I wouldn't mind it.
So we're going to leave this slide up
Yeah.
while we take your questions.
Yeah.
That way, if you need to take
normal
a picture
question
of
and
it.
answers, but and actually she's going to come around with a mic, and whoever asks questions, literally come up here. I have chili suckers, I have pineapple suckers, soda candy, M&Ms, Kit Kats, and matcha green tea Kit Kats, straight from Japan. So she's going to come over with a mic here in a second and get you to ask your questions.
Sorry, excuse me.
So my question is, if you can hear me all right, when you're walking around your techs or inventorying stuff, you're assuming you have a good CMDB or asset, and if you don't, like you have a barcode that doesn't tie into a record set, what do your techs do? They just move on and write it on paper? Because I tried it and didn't have an able to.
So right there, that's where you'd build into the app, logic, and this would be a little bit more scripting, but you could do this in Flow Designer also, that instead of having that be the reference field like I set it up as to make it extremely easy, I would have set that up as a string field, and I would have had some logic in the back end. If it doesn't find it, go to the new asset page and have them fill out the new asset right on the tech. So it could definitely be done. You just have to step back and script it. And the demo I'm doing today is not what we're going to be using full time. It was more of a
Starting point.
And give it out to you guys to use, because there really isn't anything 100% out of the box that lets you do exactly what I wanted to do.
And your organizations are all going to be different, unique, right? So there's no reason why you can't scaffold on top of what we've already built, something that's unique for your own organization.
Next question.
So when you're scanning assets, you would want to also know the floor in the building and also the room where the asset is located. How do you do this? Because the geolocation is just not going to do it for us.
Yeah, so for us, we don't have many floors or anything, so the geolocation worked for us. But there is elevation in the mobile app, and you can definitely turn that on also to get elevation of height. But at the same time, I could have just done drop downs and choices of floor 2 and had them set all those and make those required. As you saw, a few of those fields were required already. So you could definitely do all that. The server rack one, we plan on having them identify the elevation in the server rack when we do that. Next question.
So I just want to say I wish I had this about 6 months ago when I had to build mine.
Yeah.
What's your logic behind not having the users specify a location from the beginning so they can just keep going through and scanning? Is that because you want to put it out to the end user eventually?
Yeah, that's where we wanted to head, but we actually are Bessie Boehm honor that thing. We have 13 sites across the U.S. from Alaska to D.C. We had somebody talking, we have them in New Orleans, NOLA represent. So definitely wanted to be able to let them pick it and get it down to that, because we didn't care what floor and so forth, but definitely the site. Next question.
First, great job on the presentation.
Thank you.
Great job for this
Get
late
that man some
conference. Thank you.
Plenty of candy.
While building this, it looks like you mentioned you started with the business rule, then you moved over to Flow Designer. Did you have an opportunity to kind of compare differences? I mean, obviously there's the ease difference with Flow Designer, but were there any other differences maybe in response time between business rule and Flow Designer? So
business rules tend to actually run a tiny bit faster because you could set the priority in them, and Flow Designer is actually always checking. So technically a business rule is a tiny bit faster, but I've been told by Josh they're definitely working on getting Flow Designers to work faster. That is a priority. However, when designing your app, you're already setting related tables on references. I mean, everybody does that when they're building an app. And if you have that logic, the dot walking, you don't need to do anything scripted because they have that ready. If I was updating some other table I didn't reference, I'd still have to script it somewhere in there. But pretty much none of us build an app where you're not already referencing something on that table. And so the drag and drop interface makes it easy and lets me, if I move on from this job and turn it over to somebody else, it's going to allow them to, I understand this, kind of thing. Next question.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you guys so much for putting that up on GitHub for everybody. I really appreciate that. My question is, when you were doing this demonstration, it seemed like the asset was already in there. When you create it brand new, if you're getting like a pallet of new computers in or something, you can use their barcode, as you said? Does it just automatically scan that? Does it know it, or how does that work? Really?
So in the reference field, it automatically has the scan button down there, so it went pretty fast through that video demo. But anytime you have the magnifying glass inside the mobile app, it'll just show up that you have the scan button, and then I just hover over the QR code right away.
So does it actually understand the QR code automatically, like it's going
Yep,
to?
it's built into the native app with that one dictionary attribute of enable barcode scanning. I was in a service portal class where they're like, oh, do all this, and we're trying to make it as easy as the native UI app was in the mobile platform, and you still had some modifying of the widgets and actually having to learn how to do that stuff. And I'm like, well, if it was easier back then, how do you do it there? And that's when I learned 2 years ago at K16 that is a dictionary attribute. Stuff they should have taught you in the admin class. All right, next question. Anybody, come on. And I'm not kidding, there's great candy up here from around the world. So before you leave, come get some, come say hi to me. And I do have, any more questions? No? Stay tuned for one last thing. Thank you. You are going to get the survey from today.
Yes, please fill it out.
Please fill it out for me.
It helps us out quite a bit. Thank you.
But then also I know I have some SN devs here. Come on. Yeah. So we are the largest community outside of the standard ServiceNow community, and we're independently controlled. It's using a Slack. So who's used to IRC or Slack? Anybody? Some old school IRC people? Come join us. We have about 3,000 members after this conference. We were at 2,800 before we got here. And we help each other out all the time. We have a couple hundred active users every day. We have code review. Jump in, get your other developers, spread the word, the more the merrier. And you'll see me in there. I'm hashtag slacking all the dang time. So come meet me in there, say hi, get help with something in code review. As I said, I'm a low code reviewer, but people like Corey Searing, who's on the application dev team, he's in there all the time, and he's from ServiceNow, and a wealth of knowledge. So definitely join us. We'll stick around as the last session. I'm not joking about the candy. I don't want to take this back home on the flight at all. So thank you guys for joining, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks.